Hey, it's Danielle
you
here
all
for
want
Patriot.
from Patriot Pancakes. Now, I know some of you like to add milk and goo and slurp and glorp and flut. If you're going to live in your basement forever and ever, this is the perfect food for you. That's right. It looks going in like it looks going out. And that's our pride. That's what we make. Survival food. So when the end comes, you can say, fuck you, neighbors. We're die out there in amongst the clover field. Back in stock. Doop.
Much for keeping it here, folks. Well, let's continue this conversation about what went down on the 6th and what went down on Capitol Hill over this past weekend. And of course, the buildup from Democrats and the left-wing mainstream media and how they fear-mongered for weeks about what was going to happen. We already told you earlier with our correspondent who was there that nothing went down. It was filled more with...
Yeah, it was losers. It was a loser fest. They lost.
Press and Antifa BLM and undercover agents than anything, and everything was peaceful.
Yeah, that's because that's what it required. The last time they didn't have all those people there, I don't know about the Antifa part, but in terms of police and journalists, they stormed the Capitol and built a fucking gallows.
Now, a man who the FBI has been out to get for a long time, that's for sure, especially since President Trump became president, is political consultant Roger Stone. Just recently, during a live radio interview...
Oh, you mean somebody that the president pardoned?
Was just chatting away with the hosts and all of a sudden gets served with papers in a January 6th lawsuit. This is back in August. The FBI released an exclusive report claiming that the Capitol Hill incident was not coordinated. Remember? They said, nope, not coordinated.
Yeah, no, it was not a singular coordination with the White House or any of that. They don't have evidence of that. Doesn't mean they won't find it out later. But there were multiple groups there, one of which Roger Stone had contact with, and that's why he's getting sued.
They buried it because it came out on a Friday, the report. It also did involve a bunch of Trump supporters. And
by the way, we're supposed to be all in if the FBI says there was no coordination when it comes to Trump, but any other stuff that the FBI does is part of the deep state.
Roger had nothing to do with it. So why
these assholes love to pick and choose what parts they love about the New York Times and the FBI. They will cite, I mean, the National Post, but I don't know what the National Post is.
Serve papers.
Is that a real newspaper, the National Post? It sounds like something out of the Truman Show.
A former senior law enforcement official and knowledgeable about the investigation.
Oh, Reuters. I see. Reuters is now is a viable source, and you should take whatever they say seriously. The rest of the time, Reuters is part of the fake news. But right now,
90 to 95% of these are one-off cases. Then you have 5% maybe that were somehow closely tied to an organization or a militia group. But there was, quote, no grand scheme.
No grand scheme? Well, no, I mean, it was pathetic. We're not saying that they were masterminds. You're giving them far too much credit. There's 20 bank robberies happen on the same day in a big town. One guy has 2 crews running. The rest of them are all on their own. The guy who has 2 crews running, if you don't get him, will eventually have 4 crews running, especially if he's successful. So he's kind of more important to go after and eliminate as a string puller than some of the individual crews that are just doing on their own that you'll find eventually and put in jail. Because this guy's coordinating a grander scheme. It's not a grand scheme yet, but he's working on it.
With Roger Stone and Alex Jones and all of these people to storm the Capitol and take hostages. So there you go. It's out. That's Reuters, by the way. That's a neutral to liberal news service, okay? So why are they serving Roger paperwork? What's this lawsuit about? If the FBI is point blank saying there was nothing coordinated, there's no mass...
No, they didn't say there was nothing coordinated. You just showed us, asshole. You just showed us what it says. You can't show us what it says and then pretend we didn't just see what you showed us. Don't show it next time. Just skip it. They said there was no grand scheme. They didn't say there was no coordination. They just didn't say everybody was there all together. There were smaller coordinating efforts.
Behind it, it was an event with a lot of people, and I think agitators, as you know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, agitators. It's a terrible way to look at Republicans.
Got out of hand on the 6th.
It just got out of hand. It got out of hand. And, there was just wood laying around. hammer and nail, and they just got out of hand and magically turned into a fucking gallows.
What are they doing that for?
They built a gallows.
On the man himself, Roger Stone, joining the program once again so we can get to the bottom of what's going on.
Okay, and we get to see his Twitch face. Hi. Yeah, do you want to sit up here with me? What's happening, little one? Are you going to be are you now like the permanent underfoot? Are you now just hanging out? Do you just need the love? Is that what's happening? Huh? Little one? You're just so curious today. Yeah. It's okay. You all right? I'm just making sure. He's so cute. He's so cute. And you smell like vanilla, even though you fart like, somebody from The Walking Dead.
On. Roger, how are you, my friend?
Excellent.
Good.
Dan, this is a tactic known as lawfare. That is the filing of baseless, groundless, meritless, sensationalized charges.
Have you been, are those brand new teeth, Roger? Those seem like brand new teeth.
Devoid, of course, of any evidence or proof.
Yeah, those seem like giant temporary brand new teeth.
To have maximum publicity
Do you
value.
wear those on top of your teeth? How does that work?
In this case, negative publicity value, and to force the target of this abuse of our judicial system to pay tens of thousands of dollars in court just to get the case dismissed. This was not really news. It was announced a week ago. A group with strong connections to Obama, Clinton's, and Soros, the so-called...
well, look at that. We got a super Jew drop within 2 minutes.
Lawyers for Civil Rights Under Law, not...
Not...
7 Capitol Hill police officers who claim in a civil complaint filed against President Donald Trump and myself that we conspired with others to deny them their civil rights and that our actions put them in danger. This is categorically false. There's no evidence to support that. My public comments on January 5th fall well within my First Amendment rights to comment on matters of significant public interest.
Yeah, but it's the phone calls you made between you and the White House that we now know exist that are the cause of this, not speeches you made with Alex Jones. Nobody gives a shit.
Law says I never called for violence or insurrection or lawlessness or anything.
I know. I listened to your speech that night before on the 5th. I know. You didn't say squat. It's ridiculous.
Well,
yeah, nobody's saying it was the speech. It was the coordination with the White House.
Near the place on the 6th.
So yeah, of course, he knew it was going to be violent. Why would he be anywhere near it?
By faith in Jesus Christ. And when I said in my speech on the 5th that I saw the future fight for America as a fight between good and evil, dark and light.
He meant cops are evil.
And the godless, CNN said that was in itself an incitement to violence.
Well, yeah, because you're attributing evil to people who are just counting the votes and the police officers that are protecting them. That's where they would get that from. And I know it seems like a big, plucking it out of the air, but no one could look at you, Roger, and think that you don't have anything but the best intentions towards a giant pile of blow.
I have a right to have a apocalyptical, Bible-based view of the struggle the country is facing. And to say that is religious bigotry.
Of course it is. Millions of people share the same sentiment.
That's what it is. It's religious bigotry because you were coordinating with the White House and with Alex Jones to get everybody to leave 30 minutes before the end of Trump's speech and head towards the Capitol, and that Trump was, saying he was going to be up there, and then, of course, he pulled the plug on that.
Roger, you know I do. I literally have said it. I'm looking at what's going on in the world today, and I'm saying, whether you're a Christian or not, whether you're a believer or not, whether you practice your faith or not, you've got to look at what's going on in this country and around the world, but especially in this administration, and go, up is down, wrong is right, right is wrong. I mean, defund the cops, no punishment for crimes, open borders with people coming in that don't have to get vaxxed and have COVID, yet we do. Trying to get into our bank accounts, we now know the administration. I mean, everything they're trying.
Trying to get into our bank accounts, that's the $600 thing. We talked about that yesterday.
Do.
Which, by the way, we got through that yesterday. It's boring. Covered.
Is totalitarianism. It's borderline communism. This is an upside down
borderline communism
world. So it's okay for us to say right now this is good versus evil. And that,
well, yeah, except it isn't, because you're talking about your fellow Americans, and they built a fucking gallows. They were going to hang evil on that day, which included Nancy Pelosi, AOC, Mike Pence, anybody who didn't vote to certify the vote, or voted to certify the vote or didn't vote to stop it.
not marching orders to say, go storm the Capitol and beat people up and take Nancy hostage. Nobody said that on the stage that day. You didn't, Jones didn't, Trump didn't. It's all a bunch of BS. But you're right.
No, they just said fight, and it's a battle against evil, and if we don't stop them, we won't have a country anymore, and all revolutionary talk. Was Stone always this skinny? Pretty close.
It's political theater. That's why they served you.
It's exactly what it is. Look, it is not any different than the IRS lawsuit against me by the Biden Justice Department, which is permeated with fraud. It implies, written like a press release, that my wife and I have either hidden assets or underreported income, which is categorically not true.
So that's what Dan Ball is allowing him to come on and categorically deny all the legal stuff that's against him. That's why he's there. He's going on record to try and get that out there, that he's categorically denied it.
It's not true. But again, that will go to federal court in Miami. It'll cost me tens of thousands of dollars to defend it. This is all born of the bitterness on the American left, because I escaped the deadly snare set for me so carefully by Robert Mueller and Adam Schiff. And
you escaped it? Sorry, you were pardoned by your co-conspirator.
Thugs. And the American left is hysterical about the fact that I haven't already died in some COVID-19 infested prison. And Donald Trump had the courage and the strength to see that I was being railroaded and issue me an
understand that you could probably start talking or sell a book that has all kinds of untoward information about him, and therefore pardoned you.
Pardon is an act of both mercy and justice. And that drives the left absolutely insane.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why I run this guilt by association claim to try to tie me to the events of January 6th, which is, as you pointed out and Reuters reported, baseless, false.
That's right. It was not an insurrection.
No, they didn't point that out. They didn't. He just showed us the clip. Basically said there was no grand scheme. Doesn't mean there wasn't a pitiful scheme that was specifically targeted between you and the president who pardoned you.
Because insurrections are like a planned coup. They have to be organized. Nothing was.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They can be a riot out of control.
Organized. This was, again, organic, with a handful of pissed off people that went too far, along with, I firmly believe, agitators and an inside.
Yeah, it was just a bunch of Antifa and BLM people who were just gained a lot of weight, sold their belongings, and pretended to be Trump voters for 4 years.
While there was hundreds of thousands of peaceful people just standing on the steps chanting exercise.
No, they left. The 100,000 or so that were there left. There were thousands of people who were waiting to get in so they could kill someone.
Their
who were driven back by tear gas.
First Amendment rights. Roger,
their God-given First Amendment rights to trespass, build a gallows, and scream, hang Mike Pence, and heave-ho the door. If I may, let's see. That should be easy to. This is just, let's see if we get this. See if this gets in here. Hold on. Just a handful of pissed off people. There we go. Just, and mostly, I mean, if we're going to be honest about it, these are, these are mostly Antifa, BLM people. Skip, yes, we get it. Yes, add, yes, I know. There we go. Here's pictures. There we go. These are the folks, a handful of pissed off people. Just a handful of, Pissed off people doing that. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I don't know why you would think that was anything but just a light gathering of folks. You know what I mean? These are just a few pissed off people and some agitators, right, Dan?
Take on what happened over the weekend. They had this justice for January 6th. Only a few hundred people showed up. My feeling is they didn't show because they knew that if they did, they would get painted in a bad light. They would probably be set up. And when you look at what occurred, and we just had our correspondent on who was there.
Painted in a bad light? Why would it paint them in a bad light to show up to get quote unquote justice for people who were doing this? Why in the world? Why, you know? Why would they be worried at all? Why would they think that, Dan?
There were more reporters and more undercover agents trying to act like rally goers. And by the way, FBI guys, dead giveaway when you got the high and tights, the same watches and the black socks in your tenny boppers. You don't look like rally goers. You look like undercover FBI agents. Duh. What do you make of the whole weekend, Roger?
Well, I actually.
By the way, I'm glad they were there, and being slightly conspicuous is one of the way.
An interview prior to
Cops suck at dealing with crazy white people. I don't know. They shoot a lot of them every year.
Not to go.
They really do.
You understand? All it takes is one person, either at the direction of the government or because they're misguided. Showing up with explosives or firearms, and everybody gets tainted. The danger is just too great. I said that I believed it was a setup, and you're right. There were more informants and government agents and reporters than there were protesters. But how
Which
much
just shows that everybody thinks that the people who are in jail for January 6th offenses are there for good reason.
It cost us to put up that fence and take it back down? This was about
what was the cost of if they hadn't done it and some Timothy McVeigh asshole had rolled up. By the way, let's see, grab over here real quick if I may. We're just gonna dig holes all day. Man, truck, Supreme Court. You mean like this, Roger? You mean somebody like that? What's the cost of if somebody like this rolls up and decides to make good on it? What about the other 4 guys he said were going to be joining him on that day? And he had a can of either gas or kerosene on his lap. What about that, Roger? Did we not have people out there to watch?
Yeah, hype. I saw the same thing again. So my taking receiving the civil complaint from the process server while on a live radio show with Joe Hoft of the Gateway Pundit, there's 1,000 stories about that. That went viral. Now, none of those stories include my quote saying that the lawsuit itself is flawed, baseless, groundless, unsubstantiated.
What do they think you're going to say?
They just wanted the headline. They wanted Roger Stone served right before the January 6 2.0 on the 18th of September.
Really? That's what they wanted, Dan? Because the clip that you have up says very similar things. The thumbnail on this Rumble video, which I can't go back to because it doesn't reset like YouTube does. It's the same problem. Said exactly that.
That's all they're doing. This is political theater, and I don't know how in the hell, Roger, we wake up.
He got served in a civil suit. It's a civil suit. This isn't the FBI. This isn't the government. He got served in a civil action. How is this political theater? How is the government responsible at all for these officers serving this asshole with a subpoena to come to court for a civil action against him.
Those sleepy folks in the middle, and yes, I'll even say it, some of those Kennedy Democrats that know this is wrong, that know what this administration is doing is wrong in their heart of hearts, they know it. They see through it. I just spoke with a Democrat. We had one on the show Friday who literally said, because her and I agree on no vax for kids, and she sees through the BS of this administration. So we've got to just keep hammering it out there.
No vax for kids ever. She doesn't believe in vaccinating children on anything, so her kids don't go to elementary school. She doesn't get the whooping cough or the measles vaccine. She doesn't believe in vaccinating children. Or she doesn't believe in testing a new vaccine before giving it to children, or she just believes that all children should be left to die of whatever, and that's how you know that the survivors.
As you said, the political theater is what grabs the headlines. We know 90% of the media is biased to the left, so we just got to keep hammering the truth out there. And Roger, thank you for just fighting back.
90% of the media. This is a civil action, asshole. Roger Stone makes a show of himself. He worked with and for Donald Trump, who also makes a big show of himself. Anybody like that gets served with on a radio show is going to, on a civil action, is going to make the news. But you know what? Quite frankly, across the board, there was a collective shrug. Like, a lot of people are like, well, I hope they get him on some of this stuff or whatever. But you couldn't pay me to care about Roger Stone.
Best to your wife. Hope she's doing well. You guys take care. We'll talk soon, okay?
God bless you. Those who want to help me in this legal battle can go to.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not doing an ad for him. I'm not going to do it. I'm just not. It's not happening.